Hi, everyone. Live here Friday morning on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Waiting for all of you to join in. It is a live Q&A, meaning that you can ask me anything. I missed you all last week. I was traveling, but it was a ton of fun. And it was fun because so I don't go home often. I'm from the Pacific Northwest. I very rarely go there. I think primarily because I've moved to Arizona and people come to visit me. And so I don't usually have to go up and sit in the rain, but it was my high school reunion, 30-year high school reunion. And so I flew up to the Seattle area and experienced the rain again. And it kind of reminded me why I left. Not because I don't love the area. I mean, it's beautiful, right? But just the dark and the wet and the rain just does not serve me well. It's just not my favorite. It was fine while I was walking with my best friend through it because we were chit-chatting and I had my best friend and that was great. And I felt so comfortable and so just like kind of at home, almost like teleported back to high school. But then when she left and I was by myself and it was raining and dark, I was like, oh God, I don't want to be here. I don't like it here. I want to get out of here. Can I get on the plane? And back to Arizona I came. But it was fun. And it was fun to see people that I hadn't seen in 10 years since the last reunion. Some people I haven't seen since high school. So that was a ton of fun. But I was traveling and unable to be live last week because of it. And but hey, I'm here now. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and start putting them in the chat because I will start addressing them all in a few minutes. I don't have a formal intro this morning. I didn't look at any particular health stories going on right now. I know that the biggest health story going on right now is really about our food, which we talked a little bit about last time, and really trying to focus health on preventative care rather than sick care, right? And you guys all know I'm passionate about that. I think we have so much more power. We have so much more power over our health than we believe. And we've kind of been told, no, we have to take medications to manage cholesterol. We have to take medications to manage blood pressure. When 90% of that is preventable through lifestyle and mindset changes. So let's start working on that, right? Am I coming through loud and clear on all platforms, by the way? If you are out there, I never get anyone from LinkedIn saying, I'm good. So if you're on LinkedIn, say, hey, I'm here, I'm good. And YouTube too. I got one from YouTube. Hi, Sunshine and Beauty. How are you? I am on your live and so excited to be here. Well, I am glad you were here as well. I've got, hope your Halloween was awesome. Yeah, so I haven't posted it. I may post it. I haven't had an opportunity to even look at it. But last night, my oldest son went with some friends to a haunted house. So he was out for a bit. My youngest son went to a friend's house to kind of walk around the neighborhood and such with his friends. And so I went to dance class because that's what I do. But we danced to Thriller. So it was a lot of this type of thing. You know, a lot of zombie type moves. And I did record it, but I haven't looked at it and I don't know if it's worth posting or not. I mean, it's kind of goofy, but kind of fun at the same time. So I actually went to dance class last night, danced to Thriller, and then went back and, hung out with my friends. And while my 13-year-old was out collecting horribly gross candy full of all sorts of stuff. I've never really loved Halloween for that portion of it, but I do love costumes. I do love getting dressed up. Is anyone here not a Halloween person or a total Halloween person? Let me know. I see Brenda out there. She's a Halloween person. She's a costume person. Yeah. So anyway, I am going to jump into some questions. I see a few coming through. I'm just trying to give people a few minutes before I dive into them, just because it does take a second for people to get notified that I'm live and jump in. And it's nice when everyone can put what I'm saying in context. Not a Halloween person. No, we live on a street with only 5 houses. And so we don't get a lot of trick-or-treaters. I mean, we might get 2. So our whole street just goes black because it's not even worth stalking anything. And to be honest, it's kind of dangerous for people to come off the main street and come to our street anyway. where we have all these amazing neighborhoods like behind us and around us that are just loaded with trick-or-treaters and loads of candy. So we just kind of stay out of it. But when I was a kid, we used to decorate the house and like kind of put the zombie in the front so that it would scare the kids and whatever. And it was a lot of fun. And I used to have my husband and I used to throw Halloween parties every year. And those were always an absolute blast. I do love a good costume. A costume party. I see there's always a reason for a costume party, right? There's always a reason. I can find 1,000 reasons for a costume party. All right. I'm going to dive into some questions. You guys are quiet over there on Instagram. Are we good? All good? Okay. Okay, let me dive into some of the questions that I'm seeing. If you have questions for me, if you do not know who I am Dr. Tricia Pingel. I am a naturopathic physician here in Arizona. I am a stress and cortisol expert, and I help you go from wired and tired to calm and connected so that you can live your life with energy and authenticity. I think it is so important to understand how much power we have, and I am on a mission to reconnect you with yourself, with each other, and change our definition of stress. I do not think in our country that we give stress enough weight for what it really does for a body. And I think it's because we misunderstand what stress means. We do not get it. And we think stress is just external things to happen to us. And in reality, stress is a physiological reaction. It is a change in your biochemistry due to one small little thing that shifts. And once we start looking at it from a metabolic perspective and start looking at it from a health and metabolic perspective, we can actually reduce and eliminate the top killers in our country. I believe that stress is the main contributing factor to why we have disease decline, whether it's direct or indirect. People would say it's our food. Well, why do we eat that poor food? Because we're stressed out, right? So we can even go as far as saying that stress always has a role in some way leading back to the decline of our health. And I'm on a mission to change that. So for those of you that are new here, that's who I am. But that means that we can talk about anything because stress impacts everything. So the topics are wide open. And so let's dive into it. And I'm going to get my little piece of paper so that I can kind of keep up with myself here. Okay. Okay, let's jump in and start throwing those questions down and we will chat about it, okay? We're good on Instagram? All good. Okay, good. Okay, let's start in with Steve. What would be in it if you were to put together a bundle for cholesterol supplements versus a statin? Ooh, cholesterol bundle. Let's see. I would absolutely put a methylated B vitamin. So probably my Total B complex from Total Health Apothecary. By the way, all of the ones I mentioned should be on my website, Total Health Apothecary. I'm going to try to pick it up so you guys can go there and find them. So the Total Health B, Total B. Red rice yeast is optional. Let me talk to you about red rice yeast. Everyone says red rice yeast. I want to be clear that red rice yeast, if you're someone that needs a statin, red rice yeast, it does come up in conversation. It does help lower cholesterol. However, it does it by the same mechanism as a statin. So it's just a cleaner statin per se. If you have to take a statin, I'd probably pick red rice yeast over a statin. But I don't give everybody who has cholesterol issues red rice yeast. Now, my favorite red rice yeast supplement is by Thorne, Thorne. Coleaste is what it's called, I believe. But you could type in red rice yeast and probably find it. Absolutely, when we look at heart health and cholesterol health, we have to think adrenals for sure. So I would probably put my total energy and my total stress support in there, which is to bring the adrenals up in the morning, lower them at night. So we've got the adrenal bundle already listed out, as well as the Coleaste. A really good mineral. My total mineral would be a good one. You see a trend here? If we don't address the stress, we will not lower cholesterol. Why? Because cholesterol makes cortisol. So if you're running from a bear and you need more cortisol, you're going to raise your cholesterol, okay? Your total cholesterol. Now, that will not raise your triglycerides. So if you're someone that has high triglycerides or high VLDL, that's looking to diet, exercise, metabolism. That's a metabolic situation, which is also stressful. In those cases, I would look a lot to blood sugar management, insulin management, and diet and digestion. So if you're eating a fat and you're not absorbing it, it can raise your triglycerides. If you're eating a poor diet, it can raise your triglycerides. If you have a lot of inflammation, it could raise your triglycerides. So when I see triglycerides or VLDL elevated, I really double down on lifestyle measures. If I just see total cholesterol and maybe LDL slightly elevated, I certainly don't run to a statin. I start looking at the things we're talking about: methylated B vitamins, adrenal support, a strong mineral, red rice yeast if it's a significant rise, and they're not doing the lifestyle measures to the extent that I want. Fish oil is a hit or miss, because if you're not breaking down the fats, that could raise your triglycerides. So they have to look at digestion there as well. Does this help, Steve? I'm doing this off the top of my head, man. That would be the starting point. I think beyond that, it would be a lot more customization, because we would be looking at the whole pathway and seeing why is this high versus not high. Yeah. Good question, though. You always ask the best questions. Keeping it here with you, aspartame is now called amino swear. Really? I didn't know that. They're just rebranding it so people don't know what it is. If I said aspartame, all of you would say bad, 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 bad. But if I said amino swear, you'd probably say, oh, what's that? Same thing, right? Rebranding doesn't work. Rebrand it, remarket it, right? Yeah, I didn't know that. I really didn't. So thanks for calling that to my attention. Funny how everything seems to boil down to the bear. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Stress raises cholesterol. Stress raises blood pressure. Stress raises inflammation, right? There's three things right there that just increased your risk of heart attack, increased your risk of stroke, increased your risk of dementia, insulin dependent diet or insulin independent, metabolic syndrome, changed sleep patterns, changes in hormone patterns, changes in digestion, downregulation in digestion, leading to nutrient deficiencies. I mean, all those things, just fun. Okay. Let me pop over to Instagram and see if I have a ton of questions here. I saw one, and then I'll come back over to Facebook, because Facebook and YouTube. I see the one on YouTube there, Sunshine and Beauty. I'm coming right to you, hun. Sandra says, I'm 64 years old and on HRT, but still struggling with my sleep. Yeah. So first of all, I know bioidentical hormones. I'm not going to talk to HRT. Those are more the synthetic ones, typically through your standard pharmacy. I don't see great success with those anyway. But obviously, the benefits, one of the benefits that's always touted about doing hormone replacement is better sleep. That is true if it's used correctly. If it's not used correctly, it could make your sleep worse. So back to the bear. If our body is under stress, it will pull from the hormones you're taking and turn them into cortisol. So if you're not also managing the adrenal, managing the nutrition, managing the stress response, and doing my 4 pillars: nutrition, movement, supplement, and mindset, then that supplement of BHRT is not going to work the way it needs to work. So if you're taking a therapy and it's not changing your symptom, you're either doing the wrong therapy or you're missing the biochemistry that falls ahead of it. So our adrenals come first and then our hormones. So if we have a problem up here and we just replenish hormones, we're not addressing the problem. We're just addressing the symptom. And sometimes it doesn't work, because what'll happen is down here will now change up here. Does that make sense? So we are an assembly line. So there's a lot of factors that go into hormone balancing. Hormone replacement is an art. It's one of my favorite things to do, because when you get it right, people feel great. But if you get it wrong, it does not work. Okay. And it can make things worse. So it's really important to have a physician that truly understands the balance and the art of how hormones interplay with everything else. The most beautiful thing about our hormone system, or our adrenal system, is that it balances, like they all balance each other. So in a moment's notice, your body can change its physiology to handle the situation. That's beautiful. That saves our lives. But It doesn't work on an everyday if you don't have it under control and you don't have it managed. So I would say if you're taking HRT and not sleeping, either the HRT dosing is wrong, or you're missing something like the stress response because it's converting into something else, or that's not the reason you're not sleeping. Your hormones could also be perfectly balanced and maybe it's something else, right? I hope that helps. Let's see, did we have any more on Instagram? Hey, Erin, how are you? Instagram's quiet today. Do you guys not want to answer any questions? Ask any questions? I'm going to hop over and finish over here on YouTube and Facebook to leave you guys on Instagram over here to ask your questions. Jump in. You guys have been so quiet lately. I feel like maybe this time doesn't work for people anymore or something. Maybe I need to make some changes. All right. I love my wine at the end of the day. What are your thoughts on calming and apothecary in terms of alcohol alternative that gives you the taste and the buzz? I'm trying to avoid one. Okay, so you're talking about what are some alternatives to wine to calm you down. I'm going to ask you, why does the alcohol calm you down? And I'm going to get more specific here. Number one, is it the wine? Is it the alcohol that gives you that calming effect, or is it the habit, right? So, for example, I could grab a wine glass and sparkling water and sit down with my best friend and feel very relaxed, calm, and have a great time just as if I was drinking wine. I just need to hold the glass and talk to somebody I enjoy hanging out with. It really has nothing to do with the alcohol. In fact, if I have the alcohol, if anything, I feel worse the next day, right? So the question is it the alcohol that you're dependent upon or the habit? Okay, that's the first question. If it's the habit, it doesn't really matter what you put in the glass. Whether it's one of those alcohol-free herbal alternatives or whether it's sparkling water, it won't matter because it's about the habit and the environment and the social aspect of it. If it's something that you actually need to calm, oh, Shayna, did I put up the wrong one? I might have put up the wrong one. I don't know. I'll fix it. Anyway, that was a detour. So I think looking at that, here's the thing. There is, and I don't care what anyone says, there is no benefit to alcohol. I'm not saying you can't drink it. Okay. I'm not anti-alcohol. I'm just saying there literally is no benefit to your body for alcohol. And anyone is welcome to try to challenge me on that. There is no benefit. There's benefit to the grapes. There may be benefit to what is fermented, but not the actual alcohol, right? So I would really look at what is it that makes you want that glass of wine a day? Is it that you really need to address your stress response and your adrenal response so that you're more calm and connected? Is it a lot of worry and fear that makes you anxious in the first place? That if we could just get rid of that, you wouldn't really feel like you needed the wine. So you really have to look at why are you doing this, right? For me, it came down to, it was about connection and just sitting with a wine glass and being social and relaxing. And so I don't really care what's in my wine glass. As far as the alternatives, I've tried a few of them. Euphoria, I think is the one I've tried. It's like a L-theanine. They're expensive, number one. It's empty calories, number two. Like, honestly, why not just take a capsule of L-theanine? Save the money, right? Why do we need it in a drink? If the budget isn't an issue, then yeah, I mean, they're fine. But I look at it as an empty calorie and a high budget item for something that I don't really need, right? It's more a habit. And you're adding to that, I have a lot of dysregulation due to PTSD that does not seem to go away. Right, so there's your root cause. Once you take care of the root cause, the alcohol won't be an issue. But, you got to address it. So maybe that's doing some EMDR, maybe that's getting in and really honing in on what is it that is bothering you and how can I overcome it? Being healthy does take work. Like, I don't argue with that. People say all the time, how do you stay healthy? It seems like a lot of work. In the beginning it was, it's not now. I feel like now it's just kind of ingrained in me, and now it's become so easy because I have done the work and I still do the work. I'm trying to figure out what is it that energetically blocks me from being healthy or making wise choices. It's a constant thing. But Yeah, I mean, I think you really have to dive into why are you requiring alcohol to calm down, right? And just replacing it with something else isn't necessarily addressing the issue. Might be a little bit healthier for you, but maybe not. No questions on Instagram. Nobody wants any questions answered on Instagram. Oh man, and I'm sorry. I guess I put up the wrong flyer last night as I was quickly on my way to a Halloween thing, and like I put up the one that had the wrong time. It's weird because in Arizona we switch times. So like next week it'll be different because we now become mountain time. Now I'm considering just keeping it the same, 9:15 Pacific time, which will be later for me, but I don't know. You guys have thoughts on that? Do you want me to move it? Arizonans, do you want it moved later? Pacific time, Pacific, Central, and Eastern, are you okay with an hour earlier? Tell me. Because those would all move an hour earlier. I stay the same. Mine's 9:15 regardless. It's just whatever time zone Arizona happens to be in with. Okay. No, guys, I'm going to stay over on Facebook and YouTube because there's lots of questions there, which is awesome. So we're going to continue to look at those. Instagram, throw them at me and I'll answer them. Okay. Is there anything available to help with arthritis? If you're speaking about osteoarthritis, just general, like not rheumatoid, but general, just arthritis. Number one, diet's huge with that. There's a huge component to sugar. Reducing sugar in the diet, artificial sugars, processed foods, really eating whole food diets, lots of natural oils, avocado, nuts, seeds, and, you know, fresh wild caught fish. Mediterranean style diet is highly recommended for osteoarthritis. Really getting rid of the sugar can make huge differences in the flares. As far as supplements, you're looking at any of those types, oil types things, right? Fish oils, omega-3s, pure oils, that type of thing. Inflammation is really important as well. So keep a look at that on your labs. Do I take patients online and how much per session? Wendy, feel free at any time. You can DM my team and hop on a quick call with them and they'll fill you in on all the different offerings. I have quite a few different offerings. My main patient base is a concierge medical practice. But I do also have other offerings, and I can't tell you all about it yet, but I have some new offerings coming out probably within the next month, based on all the survey responses that you guys gave me. So thank you so much. So I have a lot of new stuff coming down the pipeline too, to give you more options to be able to get help with your health. Okay. So, but yeah, feel free anytime, reach out through my website, send a DM, my team will get back to you. They can just pick it. You can connect with them. They can pick 10 minutes to just chat with you and fill you in on all the different options, the current price scale, that type of thing. It's always changing because I'm always building and changing. So check that out. I also have some stuff on my website as well. Okay. But I am licensed in Arizona. So there are some limitations in other states. It doesn't mean we can't do something. It's just different. So depending on your state, what they tell you will be different. Okay. And whether you can travel to Arizona or not. Do you have a bottled water that you think is safe or a method to clean water that you prefer? Also, reverse osmosis versus distilled. I tend to not be overly particular because I have reverse osmosis on one system and I have distilled on another in my house. So I kind of rotate between them. As far as safe, I mean, I really don't like to purchase the waters from the large soda companies. So I tend to stay away from like what Aquafina, the ones that are everywhere. And sometimes when I travel, that's all they have, right? So sometimes I have to do them. I don't know. I know there's other people that are so particular about their water that they'd probably answer better than me. But I do a combination. But keep in mind, I also take minerals every day. So the reverse osmosis, the biggest complaint about that is, well, it removes all the good, minerals in it. Well, I add them back in. So it doesn't really have a huge impact on me. I would just rather have it as clean as possible. I don't need all the fluoride and all the toxins and all the crap that comes in water. I absolutely do not drink tap water. So does anyone else have some really good brands that they like? They're just not coming to my brain. I definitely stay away from the big like corporation water though. I try to do more smaller springs and stuff when I can. I think I have low cortisol and constipation. What does this mean and what can I do? Well, when our body's under stress, it does not digest well. So it's going through getting a good lab workup, figuring out what your cortisol rhythms are, getting a plan in place for how to restore them, and restoring all the nutrition and looking at those 4 pillars: nutrition, exercise, supplement, and mindset. The 4 things that I look at to repair adrenal fatigue. My website has tons of resources on this. Once again, you can always book a call with my team and kind of chat about different options. But clearly filtered, yeah. There is some on my Total Health Apothecary. I have some water filtration systems too. I'm not, by the way, I'm not affiliated with any of those. I don't get any, like bonuses for recommending them. I just have some that are available to me and I kind of review them. I'm like, okay, this one seems legit. Like, I'm not going to put it out there if I haven't looked at it, but it doesn't mean it's the only water filtration system that is good, right? There's tons of them out there. So clearly, Lux, it's time for a really good evaluation, and then it takes time. It takes years to deplenish your adrenals, and it takes years to replenish them. But it does get better, right? But you can't possibly have proper digestion if your body is always running from a bear. If you think about it, you're in the woods, you run, right? You hold it in, right? So in the earlier stages of adrenal fatigue, when your cortisol was not bottomed out, you were retaining, right? So now that means that your actual colon has probably stretched. So now it's going to be difficult to go to the bathroom regardless, right? So there's a couple different aspects. By the time you get to stage 3 or low cortisol, you have to not only repair the adrenals, but you also have to repair the function of your GI system. It is doable, right? It's not a straightforward answer. It's very individualized at that point. So I would definitely get a provider on board to help you with that. Depending on what state you're in, you can look in functional medicine providers, naturopathic providers, but I don't think you're going to get very far the other route at that point. And I'm sure you haven't, which is probably why you're here, right? How's my time? Okay. Natural steps to help teenage acne. Yeah, first of all, diet really matters. Gut health really matters. So when it comes to teenage, assuming they're generally healthy, there aren't any major issues that we're dealing with, definitely a very good probiotic. My Total probiotic at Total Health Apothecary is great for that because it has the Saccharomyces boulardii in it. So it has an additional level of gut health beside a normal probiotic. So that is a great one. Total probiotic. You can get it at Total Health Apothecary. Depending on the extent of the acne, and I would definitely talk to a doctor about this. I don't want to give a blanket recommendation without you understanding this one might take a good conversation, but I have used in the past certain liver herbs, such as milk thistle, burdock root. So the 2 main ones for acne. If we're talking about a cycling female, there are some hormone herbs that can help with the cycle, particularly if it's cycle related. Most of that comes down to liver. Diet, huge. Reducing sugar, clean whole foods, exercise, making sure they have good skin hygiene. They're using products that are overly drying. One of my favorites for this is the Body Deli. If you go to my link in bio, there's a link. I have it there. I think at the bottom of the bio. So you click on the link that's in my bio. You're on Facebook. So if you go to my profile, when you click on the link that would be like my website, it'll take you to a page that has tons of links. At the very bottom, there's a link for the Body Deli, and there's a code that you can put in to take money off your first order. And I think it's the Sage and Grapefruit cleanser. And then they have like an acne line, totally clean, totally awesome, works great. My son plays football. And so during football season, he has acne on his cheeks because of the helmet. It's like all I can do to get him to wipe that down. But he's been using the product and it's definitely helped a ton. So those are some few ones off the top of my head. The best probiotic is Dr. P's. Yeah. Coconut water contains good minerals. Absolutely. Is adrenal fatigue the same as high cortisol? No, not necessarily. Adrenal fatigue comes in different stages: stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Stage 1 is when the elevated cortisol is always high. That's usually the first stage. We usually don't do anything because we feel great. Stage 2 is the roller coaster. We start to have a wide variety of symptoms. No one can quite pinpoint the connection. We're not really sure. Maybe we're trying a few things. We might get better, we might not. Stage 3 is when the cortisol levels are low. And by that point, there's a lot of other stuff that's happened that has to be addressed. That's the nut and bolts of it. So if you are truly at low cortisol, and I want to say, in my career, I very rarely see full stage 3s where they have no cortisol. It is a rare occurrence. Okay. Most of the time, it's just that at the time of day that you drew it, you didn't have any, which maybe is going up and down. If you don't sleep well, you might be up at night and you're drawing it during the day when it's low. So keep in mind, cortisol is a rhythm. It is not an absolute number. It changes. So most people that I see are in stage 2, and they might be at the end stage 2 moving into stage 3, but they're still not completely bottomed out. That's the average person I see. So I do also use caution when people say I have low cortisol. I always say, well, let's find out. I'm not positive you do. Low cortisol, having no cortisol is really inhibited to your life completely. And anyone with Addison's disease can tell you that. So yeah, when we're talking about adrenal dysfunction, it's usually the degree at which that roller coaster is occurring. How long are the periods where your cortisol is low versus high versus in the middle? It's more a rhythm than it is an absolute. Okay. And we're in a world of diagnosis, right? We're like, what's my diagnosis? Adrenal dysregulation is simply that, dysregulation. It's not an absolute. It could change tomorrow. That's why you have to get on it. You're stage 2. Okay. Okay, well, at least I get some Instagram stuff back over here now. There are really some great teas out there that can replace wine. I agree with you. I understand, but I don't mean to monopolize from others, but it's a constant thing. I've been in therapy most of my life. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, there's, sunshine and beauty, just a little bit of hope here. This is the way I look at it. If you've been in therapy for a really long period of time and that issue is not being resolved, it's time to back up a little bit and start over and be like, wait a minute. If this is not getting me to where I'm going, what do I need to do? And sometimes for me, depends on your personality. For me, when I got to that point, no, I will not do it. No, I will not tolerate that. No, I've got to cut that out. No, like, it just came down to a choice, and I had to make mindset shifts in it. Not all therapy is created equal. Sometimes you need to work more on the mindset. Sometimes you need to work more on talk therapy. Maybe you've talked through everything. Well, now it's a neuro dysregulation in the brain that you have to resolve. So that's when you look at things like EMDR, biofeedback, neurofeedback, looking at really doubling down on the mindset portion and gratitude practice and journaling. Like, not everything works for everyone. So if you've been doing the same thing for a long period of time and we're not seeing resolution in it, it's time to look at what could I do differently? Or have you had the biochemistry looked at? Have you gone to the next level, right? We need to give therapies a good length of time, but not too long either, right? I think you know in your gut what's holding you back. I think you know it. I have PTSD. We all have PTSD in some respects. We've all been traumatized, right? In some way, by someone at some point in some time of our lives. Levels of trauma vary, but we all have trauma, right? I was in a car accident once, and now I'm a horrible person in a car because I have trauma. I always think I'm going to get in a car accident, right? I have to make a conscious choice not to let that affect me, right? So we all have things, whether they're extreme or small, we all have things that impact our neurological system. I think you know the answer to your question. You just have to sit in it for a minute and really hone in on it, if that makes sense. And I don't mean to overstep on that. And I don't want to be insensitive because I know there's a lot of stuff that goes down in people's personal lives that I could have that I'm not privy to. I'm just saying what I've found in people over the years is you already know the answer. You already know how to get healthy. You already know how to overcome it, but you have to do it. And I think the real question is, why aren't you? Like, to me, I'd be like, okay, if I know alcohol is a problem, I know that I am using it inappropriately, I know that I have things to work through, then at that point, I just have to do it. Just be like, all right, I'm going to do a sober 6 months and I'm going to change my therapy up a little bit. I'm going to talk to my therapist about different methods of things we could use, right? You know what I mean? I think you know because you're asking, which is amazing. So your body's like, hey, I know this is a problem. What can I do about it? So today's the day. What are you going to do about it? And that's what you got to work on. What's the action you need to take? Yeah. Keep the lives the same. Well, for you, it's easy because you're in Arizona, so it's always the same, right? No worries, this won't let you know. Okay, I heard a handful of pistachios before bed helps you relax or fall asleep better. Oh, I don't know. That's cool. I don't know why in particular. That's cool. Eat some pistachios, I guess. Ooh, yes. Okay, I don't know what that was in response to. I think the water question. Yes, the big corporation waters are just tap water that's been, quote, purified. Exactly. Thank you. Yes, football. Yes. I'm in Bangladesh, and this is the first time I've joined your live program. Well, welcome. Thoughts on Wegovy? Okay, give me a second on that one. Let me see how many more questions I have here. I think we're okay. Okay. Thank you I'm coming back to the Wegovy question. Thank you for so much you do. You're so loved. Thank you. Does low energy have to do with cortisol levels? Yes. Okay, I just want to kind of get a preview. I vote for earlier on a new time zone. You go live. Okay. What time zone are you in, Sunshine Beauty? Balance problems, exhaustion around period, pumpkin seeds. Okay. I just wanted to kind of see what the remaining questions were, because maybe I could combine them. I see a diverticulitis question. Okay, let's knock out diverticulitis real quick. Diagnosed with diverticulosis. I'm sorry. So diverticulosis is just pockets basically in the intestine. And they always say, don't eat nuts and seeds. What I would say is go further than that. Think about inflammation. What are your inflammatory markers? What foods are you putting into your body? Are you going to the bathroom every day? How's your digestion? In that case, I would look to things like the CellCore Foundational Protocol. You can find that in my Total Health Apothecary, looking at really starting to focus on gut health and immune health. I do this with my patients a lot. We go through a protocol. We really start to hone in on what is the digestion? Do we have overgrowth of things that shouldn't be there? How can we get our gut as healthy as possible? Lower inflammation, healthy gut. That's how you fix it. Yeah. Exhaustion around period. And we had an exhaustion talking about energy and cortisol. So let's play these together. Number one, cortisol goes up and down throughout the day. Hormones go up and down throughout the day. So when we talk about exhaustion due to periods or due to menstrual cycles, there's a particular time where our progesterone goes up. And this happens the week before our period. Unfortunately, if we're stressed out or our adrenals are taxed, progesterone can turn into cortisol. So what happens is we end up with progesterone feeding cortisol, and cortisol causing a lot of changes in sleep-wake cycles. We're not resting well. We're more tired. We're a little bit more snippy, right? So there is a feed there. When we talk about energy with cortisol, it can be directly, if you were running from a bear all day long and never sat down, you would be exhausted. We're overstimulated. So the way that cortisol can make you tired is it keeps you too buzzed, right? And our body just doesn't get the rest that it needs. In the response to low cortisol, you don't have the cortisol to get you up in the morning. So there can be fatigue on that end, and it can be everywhere in between. Also, keep in mind that when we run from a bear, we also deplete nutrients. When we deplete nutrients, that can also make us tired, right? Because we don't have what we need to make serotonin. We don't have what we need to maintain our cellular health. We have problems in the mitochondria. The mitochondria can't produce energy the way that it needs to produce. So cortisol has an impact on energy in probably about 20 different ways. So the key would be find someone who can analyze where is the poor energy coming from. Is it direct from cortisol? Is it indirect from cortisol? What are the nutrition, movement, supplement, and mindset that we need to do to replenish that in your particular case? And that plays into hormones as well. What's the rhythm, right? Make sense? And best supplement for low cortisol, there is no best supplement. However, I think my adrenal bundle, total energy, total stress support, and total B complex are a great start. It sounds like clearly, Alexa, from what you've been saying, I mean, there needs to be a full evaluation here. Yours won't be an in-the-box solution. It just won't be, right? Okay. Specific, okay. I have really had bad nonstop balance problems to the point I struggle to walk. Doctor is giving me beta histine and requesting brain MRI. Do you have any diet or natural medicine advice? I mean, it's always good to just be as clean as possible, not knowing where the balance issues are coming from. I think it's good to get imaging and find out what's going on. Was there a stroke? Is the cerebellum impacted? Whatever. I think more importantly would be things like Pilates, dance. The reason I dance is it keeps my body very connected. Doing exercise that connects the brain and the body. Pilates, yoga, certain types of PT and occupational therapy can really make a difference in balance and balance regeneration, but also looking for why it's happening, right? And then addressing that. So maybe come back when we know what it is, and I'll see if I can provide any more information there. As far as Wegovy, Wegovy is a semi-glutide, so it's one of these GLP things that everyone's using for weight loss and whatnot. It depends on if you're asking about it for somebody who is significantly obese with severe diabetes, right? If we're talking about someone with a severe disease state where that's a different answer than the general public who do not have insulin resistance and who do not have a diabetes and are just looking for weight loss. I think you're asking for trouble if you use it in a healthy person. I think if you're in a situation where there is, a significant amount of weight to lose, you have high inflammation, you have an insulin-resistant diabetes, traditional therapies and lifestyle measures are not working, I think it can really help get someone on the train to better health. However, that is not the majority of people. And I am seeing the flip side of it. It's very stressful on the body. It reduces appetite. Essentially, what I'm seeing in the general population, not speaking to this because I know people always get on me. They're like, I'm not, there's a certain demographic for that medication. But when you're looking at somebody, if I would have said, hey, I want you to starve yourself to lose weight, would you think that was okay? Because that's what it does, right? It starves the body. So we have a lot of adrenal impact from that. We have a lot of nutritional decline from that side of that. So if you're someone that's going to do that, there has to be a plan so far beyond that to replenish those nutrients for someone to be able to get me to prescribe it. Like they have to be literally like superwoman in their lifestyle. And if they are, they don't need it. So that's my thoughts on it. I do get very concerned about it. I've said from the beginning, I don't like the side effects. I don't like what it does to the system. And it needs to be cautiously prescribed. Very unique circumstances for that one. If you have any more specific questions, I'm happy to get. By the way, that's my opinion, right? My opinion may not apply to everybody. It's just I don't know, touchy subject. You would say no to what? China Beauty. I can't remember what I was saying. You would say no to Wegovy? Yeah, I mean, I do too. Not that I haven't prescribed it, I have, but this was not without a very lengthy conversation, and ultimately it's up to the patient on what risks they're willing to take. I just ask that everybody is very informed on what the risks are and they're knowingly taking the right risks. It is certainly not a magic pill for weight loss. I can tell you that. I had a question about Wegovy. That's what I was being asked about. Okay, but my time is up. But let's see, I had a couple more questions. If you're not hungry in the morning till say 10 or 11, is it high cortisol we might be running on? I have to make myself eat by an hour. Yeah, I mean, you can look at the cortisol rhythms and see that, and that's a very good insight. I'm very much about intuitively understanding your body and why it's giving you certain signals. That doesn't always mean that you should wait till 11 o'clock, but it's like, why? That's a great question to ask. Why am I not hungry till 11 o'clock, right? Because technically, if your cortisol levels were on par when you got up, you would be hungry because you got to run from a bear, right? So if you're not, the question is, why not? And that's a great question to ask. And that's where individualized treatment comes into play, right? What is my body trying to tell me? Okay, it's going to kick me off in a minute. Do we have to gain weight in order to raise low cortisol? No, you do not. Thoughts on intermittent fasting for women, 12 to 8 eating window? Same answer. To me, I'd rather eat in the morning and not at night, because why would I need food when I'm going to go to sleep? I need food when I wake up because I got to run. So what I don't understand, and maybe intermittent fasting people can answer this for me at some point, is let's say we see the benefits of intermittent fasting. I see that. There's tons of studies on that, right? But why are we fasting in the morning? Why don't we just eat from 7 a.m. in the morning until 3 and fast at night and then go to bed? Like, why does it have to be the morning meal that we cut off? As an adrenal doctor, I think that's wrong. The time we need food is in the morning. Now, they're probably going to say for weight loss because the cortisol will help burn, fat. Maybe, unless you have adrenal dysregulation, and then it's going to put on fat. So any of you that have done intermittent fasting in that way and you find it's not helping, it's because your adrenal glands are dysregulated. So you might have to address that first, right? And any good intermittent fasting doctor will absolutely address your adrenals at the same time. If they don't, be leery, because the ones that I know that are really, really good at it absolutely put adrenal health into the mix there. Okay. Okay, guys, I think my time is up. My time is up. Semi-glutides. Yep, that's what you're talking about. Okay, cool. All right, guys. Well, I will be here next week, but the time may change because we have daylight savings time and I don't change. I'm pretty certain that I'm probably going to have to keep it, at least for now, at the same time, which means the same time for people in Arizona, but means an hour earlier for other people. So I will try to put up the right flyer on my feed. And perhaps if Brenda, if you're still out there, will you put a note that we also need to send out an email notifying people of the change of time. So I will do that as well. But I will see you guys next week. Thank you as always for your questions. If you're watching the replay, thank you for watching the replay. If you liked this, hit like, save, share, send it to people, get more people here. And you guys asked some great questions today. I really hope this was helpful. I hope that, thank you, Brenda. I think that all of you just walk away today and remember that you have a choice. You have a choice to make one change in your health. Make that one change today. You do not have to do it perfectly. Just make one change. That's it. One tiny little decision today that leans more towards a healthy lifestyle, and you are successful for the day. So that's all you have to do. You don't have to overchange your whole health today. Okay. So one thing at a time, and I will see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.